Hello and welcome to Getter Farms. We're back with another episode of the Royalton, Minnesota map, and we have been putting away our equipment, washing things up a little bit, and just generally tidying up the yard. I did switch out the 6R for the 7R on the potato planter. We haven't advanced days yet to start planting our second field of potatoes. Because I wanted to put this one field of alfalfa in before then. And so we went ahead and bought this small seeder. Got a pretty good deal on it. It's in really good shape. I think this was $6,000. So I figure this is a good spot to start off. We're really only going to put alfalfa in a couple of fields here. And then we're really not going to have a lot of use for a seeder. I went with this one because we can put the dry fertilizer in, and with precision farming on and all, I didn't want to have to also buy a sprayer, and so this is going to be, at least for this round, our best or easiest way to get the alfalfa planted with an appropriate amount of fertilization and not have to worry about anything else. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, I want to make sure I'm getting the right field. I think we said we were going to put alfalfa in this field behind the bins. And much like our other field, it's kind of early in the spring, I guess, or a low temperature for this, but we're right on the border. And so I want to kind of get this in now before we advance the days any, just to get this done. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a headland pass here first. It does look like we have multi-terrain angles. So I know we talked about this last episode. I think that was just a artifact of the potato planting. I think that because that's the bigger ridges, that you only get the single angle tech there. And so that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just take 2 headland passes here to give us enough room to turn around as we're going up and down. I think we're going to be able to turn pretty quick with this seeder. It's not too big. This tractor's got a pretty decent turning radius, so we're going to probably just go with that. And then we're going to get going down the run here. So I got GPS turned on here after struggling a little bit, and it turns out we're missing this little tiny strip all the way down the driveway, but we're going to live with it, and I'll turn around and clean that up later at some point, I'm sure. But I just want to get this field going and see how far we're going to get here. Now, we are getting the fertilizer going in pretty good. I should probably turn on the PF map, and in fact, why don't we get turned around here and started on this headland, and then I'll bring up the map and we'll see how the fertilizer's actually going on this field. So if we look here, it's kind of hard to tell. In fact, I'm not seeing any fertilizer going in. Maybe that's because it's alfalfa and it's not a recognized crop type on the field. Let's go check out here. This might get a little bit interesting. In fact, if anything, it looks like we've made the fertilizer state a little bit worse on the edge there. I'm not sure. We definitely used a little bit of fertilizer already because we're at 98% of our total. So I'm not sure what to make of that. But we're going to go ahead and take another headland pass here. And I'm going to keep an eye on that and see if it's going up or down here. But I'm looking at the map on the left side here, and I don't see it going down at all. And so maybe it's one of the crop types that doesn't require any nitrogen, which would be interesting. I don't know. We'll take a quick look at the precision farming files here in just a second. So looking at the precision farming XML files, it looks like alfalfa is actually included in there. However, it's set up that it requires an extremely low level of nitrogen. And so that explains why we're not really putting any down. If we look here at the map, We've already got 80 kilograms per hectare, and depending on the soil type, alfalfa only needs between 20 and 60. And so we've probably got a little bit much going in a couple areas of this field, but I think after the first harvest, those will drop down, and we'll be in a pretty good spot. I'm not terribly worried about our yields for alfalfa, at least not to start out. And so we'll definitely be okay with this, I think, the way it is. I'm kind of looking at my GPS. It doesn't seem to be so much spot on here. And so I think what we're going to do is turn our UI on and just double check where it thinks we're going. I guess that is lined up pretty good with the work area. It must just be a little bit deceptive here. So we're going to go ahead and work with that and get the rest of this field seeded here with our alfalfa. And then we're going to probably be advancing time to get into the rest of our planting season here. All right, so we're coming up on the last of this pass here, and this is going to be the last of the seeding in this field. We've got a little bit of alfalfa seed left in the seeder here, so that's okay. We are going to be able to utilize that when we go to put, I think, a bigger alfalfa field here in the back somewhere at some point. For the time being, though, I think we're going to just leave the seed and fertilizer in here. I'll probably put this in the bigger shed just because I'm not sure I'll get it through the other doors. And so we're going to just open this up here. We've got plenty of room in here right now for equipment. And I think it'll just fit through this door. Yep, we're good to go. And so I think maybe we'll park it right here opposite the DB60 somewhere-ish. This ought to be good enough if I can do it without jackknifing it too much or putting it through the wall. That would be epic. And there we go. So with that, we have done, I think, about everything we can do here in mid-spring. And so I'm going to take this 6R. Actually, we don't have any use for the 6R right now. So I'm going to just park the 6R right here. And we're going to do one last check here of our animals. Make sure I didn't forget about them. If I look here, they look to be good to go for today. And so we're going to go ahead and skip ahead here to the next day and see what the ground temperature looks like. So we're into the next day here. It looks like we've got about $3,000 a day in loans that we're paying and a little over $300 a day in property fees and taxes or whatever they call it that we're paying. We are going to have to take care of our cows a little bit here. But I think before we do that, I want to go ahead and get this potato planter started. I think we are going to try and leverage a worker on this field. It should work out, we're hoping, as long as we don't end up in the ditch on the far end of this field is what I'm worried about. I know we talked about not having headlands on here, but depending on how this worker handles himself, we may need to implement some headlands just to keep him from doing anything too crazy. But I think we're going to trust him to get into trouble on his own without us. I find the ground textures on this map to be a little interesting. They're different for sure than other maps. I haven't quite made up my mind if I like it or not. I'm just recognizing it's pretty different. So with that worker going, let's go ahead and run up here and grab the 6R. And we're going to go ahead and get the loader hooked back up here. And we're going to use the loader to grab one of these hay bales that we have. Since it will be just a little bit before we have any alfalfa to make better feed. Now, that said, we do have this grass field behind us, so I'm hoping these hay bales will get us through the next few days. And then maybe before we plow up this grass field, we're going to be able to cut it once and use that grass to make some hay for our cows. Now I think I'm also gonna just dump this bucket in here and switch over to the forks. I guess they're bale spikes, not forks. And we got, what, 3 hay bales here? I would assume 1 hay bale is going to be enough. Let's see if I can get this hay bale without making too much of a problem. Perfect. Oh, seriously. This little bit of a lip here is causing me some grief. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. All right, let's put it down low. All right, we're going to one-tine it. I was more worried about not running into our container of seed here than keeping the bale on the forks, causing us all kinds of problems. And then I think all I have to do is toss this right into here. Now, I'm way too close, so we're not going to do that. We're going to take a wider swing here so we don't crash into our barn. And we're also going to put our little warning indicators in. They stick out a bit wide. So they didn't quite take the whole bale. I am going to leave that there for a little bit, though, because they are going to use it eventually here. I think that's going to be fine. And we're going to switch back to the bucket. I realized this before I switched the bucket off. I should have cleaned out the pen. The feedways are a little bit messy in there. Whoa, why are we freaking out, tractor? Looks like the bucket fell through the floor or something. Okay, that was epic. So we're gonna head back in here with the bucket and try to clean up the walkway a little bit, or the feedway here. But I've come to the realization that we've already got silage in the bucket. So that must have been from the last time we cleaned up after the cows here, and we'd already fed them, much like now, and we don't have anything to do with it. So we're gonna just have to keep this in the bucket for now, I guess. I don't know that we've got a lot else to do with it, and so I'm just gonna leave the 6R in here. I think we will definitely be back in here to feed them again and clean up after it at some point. And I don't think we've got any other jobs for the 6R at the moment. If we look here, the cleanliness will take a little bit to pick up. All the cows are well fed, and we've already got one that's pregnant, a couple that are pregnant. So in theory, after these are born in 0.7 years, we'll start making some milk, which will be exciting times. Now, we have let this potato planter go for some period of time, and I feel like we should probably come check on it. Amazingly, it's going to town here without any issues. If we look at the seasons menu once again, you can see that we are in the last final day of potato season, but we're well within the temperature. And we're also doing pretty good. We're about ready to start planting the corn that we're going to need for feed for the cows. So we definitely need to get some corn in because this map has some really cool mechanics, if I recall, with how dairy feed is going to work. And so if we look in here, we've got these different distillers. We've got cracked corn. And so we're going to need to figure out how exactly that all works yet still. But at this stage, all we know is we're going to need some corn. And so we're going to actually jump back up to the farm here and leverage this 6R to get the corn planter all set up and ready. And then we're also going to need to plant some other stuff here. So we're going to only do one smallish, I guess all of our fields are pretty close in size, but we're going to just do one field of corn here in order to have the necessary materials for the feed that we need for our dairy setup here. And then the rest, I think, are going to end up being sunflowers. So we're going to give that a shot this playthrough and kind of see how that goes. I think we can get a pretty good rotation going with potatoes and sunflowers as I have taken a look at it. And so actually, if I show off the rotation menu here, you can see potatoes and sunflowers do really well, as do corn and sunflowers. And so as we need to get corn rotated in for feed, we can do that, and then do sunflowers, and then we could even transition into potatoes from there and get a pretty good rotation on the sunflowers and potatoes. It kind of destroys the corn rotation though. And so for me, I'm kind of trying to figure out, what I would do, if I were to actually try and do that. I would probably do something like this where, a given field might run corn this year, and then we'll run a sunflower, potato, sunflower rotation just to get back into a good state for corn again, but keep these potatoes going. So we're working through some ideas here with the seasons planner, and we'll see how it goes. But in the short term, all we really need to worry about is picking one field to get that corn into for feed, and then we'll be getting some sunflowers into some of the other fields. You can see also here our sunflowers are ready to be planted as well. Normal corn isn't actually ready, but I think all of the corn mechanics on the map, I could be mistaken, but I think they're all based on this wet corn. And then you either use wet corn for things or dry corn. And so we're going to be planting a field of wet corn here to start with, because it's 43 degree Fahrenheit planting. And then we'll do our sunflowers. And if I'm wrong about that wet corn, we might save one field for next episode to do for corn. We'll see how far we get today. That's the plan, though. So we've got that liquid fertilizer we bought last episode here in the shed. So we got it muscled out of the shed here. We're going to top off this planter here real quick. Now, what I'm suddenly concerned about, and that did not use very much at all. I didn't think those tanks had as much in as they did. But what I've suddenly become aware of is what happens for wet corn with precision farming. Does precision farming know anything about wet corn? I suspect no. And so given that, what are we expecting to happen here with a custom crop type? We're going to grab, I don't have enough money. We're going to take out a little bit more of a loan so we can buy the seed that we need. I don't know how much seed we're going to need for all of this, but we're gonna start with one big bag here and see how far this gets us. Now, looking at the remaining fields that we have, we're gonna have potatoes here, alfalfa, lots of alfalfa / hay back here. I think we're probably going to want to run our corn feed in this field 31 here over, and then we'll do sunflowers in the biggest field in the back there. And so we're going to head over here, and we're gonna see what we have to see. I have no idea how this is gonna work with precision farming though. Now, we don't have very much corn here, and that's somewhat intentional. I don't want to overbuy my seed. I want to see how far this is going to get me, and I want to see what precision farming is going to do. So we are going to turn this map on and hope beyond hope that this actually works. I guess if it doesn't start putting any fertilizer down, what I can do is actually go out and add a new crop to fertilizing section in precision farming. I have no idea how well that's going to work. We're just going to go for it. Oh, interesting. Look at this. It does use like a potato ridged planting texture for corn. I like it. And we're putting down some form of nitrogen here, and we're driving all kinds of crazy. Hang on. I'm so distracted by multi-terrain ridged corn planting rows. Oh, this is amazing. Hang on. We're going to have to get GPS out, though. Bum, 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 bum. GPS, save me. All right. Now, let's hang on here for a minute. So this is, let's zoom in. This is a very different setup for corn. Multi-terrain angled ridged rows. I love it. It looks pretty cool. We're gonna get our headland pass in here, and I'm purposefully leaving it down while I turn here just because I want to see some nice angles there. See how it works. I mean, I guess it doesn't line up super well in parts, so it does tend to look a little bit funny, which is, you know, not necessarily the fault of the modder in this case. You know, I don't know that there's a whole lot more you could do with this texture, but that's pretty cool. I like it. Now, it is going to make it a little bit harder to figure out which one's a potato field and which one's a cornfield, but I really shouldn't be driving across my potato fields like that either. So, oh, we're driving all over the place here, though. And I'm realizing now that I'm probably using a tractor that's a little underpowered for what we're doing. I don't think this 6R quite has the horsepower for this planter, but that's okay. We're gonna just keep rolling with it because I'm super, super excited about this texture. So the nice thing with this planter is it's going to make short work of this field because it is probably a little large for the size farm. We could have got away with something a little bit smaller, but quite honestly, with all the different kinds of planting that we're doing, between the alfalfa, the potatoes, and now some corn and some soybeans, I just didn't want to necessarily drag this on any longer than necessary. So I really kind of like this planter. We're going to get rid of our GPS lines, though, now that we've got everything all set up. And it looks like precision farming is, I don't know if it's playing nice. I'm not sure what we should be applying. I think it's just applying a flat rate, which is maxing things out. Now for corn, that's probably okay. If I look at this, it is trying to increasing nitrogen level to optimum value for wet corn. So it thinks it knows what it's doing for wet corn specifically. I don't know how, but it's doing its thing, and it's not maxing it out. So, I mean, it's doing something reasonable, it seems like. I'm just really confused as to how it knows what to do. And so at some point here, we're going to have to dig into some files and figure out how it knows what it's doing. But in the meantime, I'm not going to complain. In fact, I'm quite happy that it knows what it's doing because it makes my life so much easier. So we've got this last sliver of a pass here that we're taking on. Shouldn't be too hard. It is going to mess up our rows a little bit here as I have to curve to stay out of the potatoes. Oh, there we go. I'll be curious to see if there's any more little surprises like this in the map. I'm definitely enjoying just kind of playing along, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's new. Definitely a cool experience. Not too often that you run into a lot of newly done things. I'll be curious to see what the textures look like as well for the growing crops. If they put this much work into some of the ground textures, I have to assume that we're going to see some really cool crop textures and stuff as well. And if we turn the map back on here, we did pretty good. We've got quite a bit of wet corn left here, or seed left in the planter, and our fertilizer's in decent state as well. And so we should be good to go for getting our soybeans all set up here. I don't think this thing was quite folded up when I started trying to drive there. And so we're going to sneak around the field here and go up the driveway, I think, rather than driving on more crops. And I've lost track of the potato planter. It looks like he's up there on the other end. It's a little hazy today, some low clouds rolling in. I don't think he's still driving, though. I think he got to the narrow, skinny rows and didn't figure out how to keep going. So we are going to need to do a little bit more planting. I think we're going to be ready to switch over to sunflowers next. But we're going to leave that there for a bit and see what we can do to wrap up these potatoes. So it looks like our potatoes are just out. We need to go fill him up with some more, which is totally understandable. I didn't even think about that being the probable cause for him to stop there, but it makes total sense, because that is a field that is a little bit bigger than the first field we did, and we just about ran out of potatoes on the first one, so, or we did run out. We had to go get just a little bit more, so this will work nicely. We'll put, I think this is about 7 tons to fill this up, and so we went from, I think that was 23 down to 16, so 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, somewhere around there. So we're going to be in a good spot. We've got plenty of potatoes to finish this field, and it should only take us a couple of passes here. I'm just noticing now how uneven this field actually is. In fact, if we let the worker go there and hop out here, run back up a little bit, you can see there's some pretty big hills and dips on some of these fields, so we actually skipped a little bit with the potato planter there. To be expected. I really like the finer details when farms like this have kind of that rolling hill effect. I mean, we've got a little bit of a haze here with the cloudy effect and seasons, but you can really see that there's just these rolling hills with the dips, and it just makes the farm in general feel that much more alive. Really enjoying this little farm so far. So as usual, we've got one, maybe it's 2 rows here that we have to come back and hit just to max out this field, but that's okay. We're just about done with potato planting here for the season. So if we look at the map here real quick, we've got some corn up here for feed in field 31. We've got potatoes going into fields 30 and 28. We've got a nice field of alfalfa here in the unmarked field. And then we've got fields 27 and 29, where my intent is to put sunflowers. I don't know if I've ever grown sunflowers in FS19. And they are an uncommon, but actually grown in Minnesota crop. And so I thought that that would fit in well with this particular map. In that, we talked earlier about the rotation of crops that I'm trying to get in, but also just this is kind of the series to try a few things out that are a little bit different and see how it goes. So we're going to learn about all the different crop types with precision farming here over all of my series within the next little bit of time is my goal. So we're going to be trying a lot of different things out and seeing how it goes. But with that, I think we've wrapped up all of the planting we're going to do in this episode. And next time we'll finish up with the sunflower planting and see what else we've got going on. That's all for today. Kedrick, out.